Welcome to Epic World History. Today, we journey into the Gallic Wars, when Julius Caesar led Rome's legions into the wild lands of Gaul. It was a clash of empires and tribes, of conquest and resistance. From Caesar's triumphs to Vercingetorix's defiance, the war shaped Rome, scarred the Celts, and forged the destiny of Europe. The Gallic Wars' history began in 58 BC, when Julius Caesar turned his eyes northward. Gaul, a land of fierce Celtic tribes, rich fields, and untamed forests, was both opportunity and threat. Rome sought expansion, and Caesar sought glory. The clash of Julius Caesar versus Celtic tribes would not only reshape Rome, but also decide the fate of Western Europe. At the heart of the Gallic Wars' history stood the Helvetii migration. A vast Celtic tribe prepared to abandon their lands and march through Roman territory. Caesar seized the chance to act. He framed the Helvetii as a menace, turning their movement into justification for Rome versus Gaul battle. War drums echoed, and Caesar's legions prepared for conquest. The Helvetii marched in columns of thousands, with families, wagons, and warriors. Yet Caesar's strategy was relentless. He blocked rivers, cut bridges, and forced them into open battle. The clash was brutal, iron against courage. In the end, Julius Caesar's Gallic War began with Rome's triumph, sending a message to every Celtic tribe: Rome was coming. After Helvetii fell, Caesar faced the Germanic king Ariovistus. He crossed into Gaul, claiming dominance. Rome feared Germanic expansion, but Caesar saw a chance for personal glory. The confrontation turned into one of the first Rome versus Gaul battles with outsiders. Caesar's disciplined legions broke the Germanic ranks, proving the strength of Roman order over tribal chaos. By 57 BC, the Gallic tribes realized Caesar's conquest of Gaul was no passing campaign. The Belgae, proud Celtic tribes of the north, formed a coalition to resist. They outnumbered Caesar, yet lacked unity. Rome's engineering brilliance built bridges and forts overnight, breaking enemy morale. Caesar advanced deeper, tightening his grip on Gaul. The Gallic Wars' history unfolded as Caesar subdued tribe after tribe. Rome's discipline clashed with Gallic spirit. Celtic tribes fought with passion, painted for war, charging with fury. Yet Caesar's legions held the line with shields and pila. Each victory tightened Rome's net around Gaul, yet resentment simmered, waiting for a leader who could unite the tribes. Caesar's conquest of Gaul was not just war, it was propaganda. Each Rome versus Gaul battle became fuel for his reports. The famous commentary De Bello Gallico. He wrote of disciplined Romans and savage Celts, shaping his image for the Roman Senate. Yet behind his words, villages burned, and Gallic tribes resisted with fierce courage. In 55 BC, Caesar astonished the world by bridging the Rhine. With breathtaking engineering, Roman legions crossed into Germanic lands. It was not conquest, but a show of power. Soon after, he turned westward, launching daring expeditions across the Channel into Britain. The Gallic War expanded beyond Gaul, elevating Caesar's reputation as Rome's boldest commander. But Gaul would not bow easily. In 54 BC, the Eburones rose in rebellion, led by Ambiorix. Trapped Roman legions were massacred in forests and marshes, their disciplined formations broken by guerrilla tactics. For a moment, Gallic tribes' resistance seemed unstoppable. Yet Caesar's fury was relentless. He returned with vengeance, devastating entire regions. The brutality escalated. Caesar's conquest of Gaul turned into a campaign of terror. Fields were burned, towns razed, populations enslaved. The Gallic Wars' history was written in blood and ash. Yet out of despair, a hero emerged. From the Arverni tribe, a young noble named Vercingetorix rose, destined to challenge Caesar like no other. Vercingetorix united the Celtic tribes under a single banner. Charismatic, cunning, and relentless, he transformed Gallic tribes' resistance into a true nation's war. His strategy differed from past leaders. He avoided pitched battles, choosing scorched earth. Fields were destroyed, towns abandoned, leaving Caesar's armies hungry and exposed in hostile land. The Rome versus Gaul battle reached new intensity at Gergovia in 52 BC. Vercingetorix held the high ground, and Caesar's assaults failed. For the first time, Julius Caesar tasted defeat in the Gallic War. His legions, disciplined yet exhausted, retreated. Gaul rejoiced, believing their freedom within reach. But Caesar was not finished. Rallying his men, he moved to cut off Vercingetorix's supplies. The decisive clash came at Alesia. Caesar encircled the Gallic stronghold with vast fortifications walls within walls. As Gallic warriors stormed from inside and relief forces attacked from outside, the Romans fought a desperate double-front battle. The siege of Alesia was among the most dramatic in Gallic Wars history. Day after day, Romans fought off endless charges. Celtic cavalry clashed with Roman discipline. Starvation gripped the defenders inside. In the end, exhaustion broke the Gauls. Surrounded and outnumbered, Vercingetorix made a fateful choice to surrender and save his people from slaughter. In one of history's most symbolic moments, Vercingetorix rode out in full armor, circled Caesar's camp, and laid down his sword at the conqueror's feet. Julius Caesar's conquest of Gaul was complete. Rome triumphed, yet for the Celtic tribes, it was the twilight of independence, the end of an age of freedom. The fall of Alesia marked the turning point of the Julius Caesar Gallic War. With Vercingetorix in chains, Gallic tribes' resistance collapsed. One by one, Celtic strongholds surrendered. For Rome, the conquest of Gaul secured vast new lands, resources, and soldiers. For Caesar, it brought unmatched glory and a loyal army devoted to his command. But conquest came at a terrible price. The Rome versus Gaul battle left hundreds of thousands dead, enslaved, or displaced. Celtic culture was scarred, its warriors broken, its freedom extinguished. Yet the spirit of resistance endured in memory, carried in songs and stories, long after the tribes were silenced. For Julius Caesar, the conquest of Gaul was more than a military triumph. It became the foundation of his political power. His reports glorified his victories, turning him into Rome's most celebrated general. Yet his growing power also alarmed the Senate, planting the seeds of future conflict between Caesar and the Republic. The Gallic Wars' history also reshaped Rome itself. Gold, grain, and slaves poured into the city. Roman culture absorbed Celtic influences, while Gaul began its long transformation under Roman rule. Roads, cities, and laws replaced tribal traditions. The wild frontier had become Rome's newest province. Yet the memory of Vercingetorix versus Julius Caesar endured. To the Romans, he was a defeated enemy paraded in chains. To the Gauls, he became a legend, a symbol of courage against overwhelming odds. His surrender at Alesia was not the end, but the birth of a national hero whose story outlived empire. Caesar's conquest of Gaul elevated him beyond any rival. With battle-hardened legions at his back, he returned to Rome as a figure too powerful for the Senate to control. The Gallic Wars had forged not only an empire, but the path to dictatorship. The Republic trembled as Caesar crossed the Rubicon. The legacy of Julius Caesar versus Celtic tribes stretched far beyond Gaul. Rome's borders expanded to the Rhine and beyond. The Gallic War proved that Rome's legions, when commanded by genius, could overcome even the fiercest tribal resistance. The Republic gained land, wealth, and prestige, but lost balance in its politics. For Gaul, the Rome versus Gaul battle was the end of independence, but also the beginning of transformation. In centuries to come, Gaul would become a heartland of Rome, blending Celtic roots with Latin culture. Out of this fusion, medieval France would one day emerge, carrying echoes of both conqueror and conquered. The Gallic Wars' history remains one of antiquity's greatest epics. It was a clash of iron and spirit, strategy and sacrifice. Julius Caesar carved his destiny in Gaul, while the Celtic tribes carved their memory in resistance. Together, they left a story of conquest and defiance that shaped the history of Europe forever. Thus ended the Gallic War. Julius Caesar's conquest of Gaul gave Rome an empire, gave Caesar a crown of glory, and gave the world a legend. Yet behind his triumph lay ashes of Celtic freedom and the haunting memory of Vercingetorix's stand. The war was Rome's victory, but also Gaul's eternal voice of defiance.